Hello and welcome back to 4FS Gaming. In this video, we are going to look at sniping as a playstyle in Hunt Showdown. This guide will help you set out your loadout, understand the strengths and limitations of this playstyle, and also introduce some tactics that will make you deadly with a scoped rifle. Playing with a sniper rifle can be extremely satisfying, and it is also relatively safe for those that want to keep their hunters alive as long as possible. But without good skill and knowledge, you can often feel that you are not really helping your team if those shots are not landing. So what exactly does sniping look like in Hunt Showdown? Plenty of weapons can be used at long range with their iron sights, but for a true sniper weapon, in my opinion, you need three factors: high damage at long range, a scope with high magnification, and fast bullet travel speed to assist in landing those shots. With these considerations in mind, only 3 weapons in the game make the cut as top tier sniper rifles. Firstly, we have the Sparks LRR Sniper. This weapon combines extremely high damage and range with a sniper's scope. Then there is the Mosin Sniper. You sacrifice some damage for the ability to fire multiple times before reloading, and it also has a higher projectile speed than the Sparks, so you don't have to lead your target as far when shooting. The third weapon, even though it only has a lesser zoom marksman scope, is the Lebel Marksman. This weapon has even less damage than the Mosin, but extremely high bullet velocity makes it a headshot machine, and the marksman scope is definitely enough to compete at extreme range while still being able to keep a better field of view up close. There are other weapons that some people like to use as snipers, but they don't quite make this top tier cut. The Martini Henry Deadeye, for instance, is a great rifle, and the Deadeye scope is highly versatile, but its low zoom and slow bullet velocity mean that it is not as specialized for long distance combat. Likewise, for the Winfield or the Springfield marksman weapons, they lack the damage and the range for effective use as snipers. So now that we have our 3 primaries, how can we build a loadout around these weapons to make the most of them? Your secondary weapon or sidearm is of critical consideration when sniping. You need a sidearm that is deadly up close if you need to fight at a distance where your rifle's scope makes it unwieldy, yet it needs to have enough range that you can do a quick swap for a follow-up shot at medium range once you hit a target with your rifle, especially if you are using that single shot spark sniper. For me, this means either a semi-automatic pistol or a revolver with the fan-in trait. The Bornheim Extended is your budget option for a sidearm, or if you have fan-in, then the Coldwell Chain Pistol or PAX are the cheaper options. If you are going for raw power, then the Dolch is always a versatile and strong secondary, or fan-in with the uppercut is also excellent as it allows you to carry much more long rifle ammunition. Taking the uppercut is probably more important when using the Lebel or Mosin rifles, as these carry less ammo by default and tend to chew through it much faster. Now as for tools, you will need the staple melee weapon, and for me this is always the knife, and a first aid kit. You can also take throwing knives to assist in removing AI silently, and some tripwires as well, but tools are not particularly critical for this build. When it comes to consumables, I will take 2 vitality shots with this kind of playstyle, as fights tend to go for longer, and your health may be chipped down a fair bit in drawn out conflicts. I would then go with frag bombs, which are the premier explosive at the moment for flushing people out of cover and killing people hiding in buildings. If you are running the Mosin or Lebel with a Dolch, then you might want to consider the ammo box consumable, as you are likely to run low on ammo at some point. Finally, there are a few traits that work really well for snipers specifically. Fan-in allows you to use revolvers as close range secondaries, and it comes highly recommended. Steady aim makes lining up those methodical shots easier, as it almost entirely nullifies sway. If you are using the Mosin or Lebel, the sniper and marksman scopesmith traits respectively allow you to stay scoped in between shots, and that's really great for keeping track of your target. With either of these weapons, I also recommend Bullet Grubber to preserve ammo while keeping your rifle loaded. You might notice that this means that the Spark Sniper is much less reliant on traits to get the most out of the weapon, which makes it a good rifle when you start off with a new hunter at level 1 with no traits. After all these weapon-specific traits, standard top-tier picks like Doctor, Pack Mule, and Physician, etc. are definitely the way to go. Now that we have covered the best sniper loadouts, let's take a look at the strengths and weaknesses of the playstyle, and then consider a range of tactics and tips. The main advantage of sniping is that in a peak war, you can move back and fight from a range where enemy shots are far more likely to miss you, and if they do hit you, it will often only deal minimal damage, while your sights allow you to land hits far more reliably at that range. Another massive strength is that because your rifles have so much more reach, you can strike enemies when they believe they are safe, stalk them from a long distance until they stand still or start crouch walking, and then take that critical first shot. Keeping at such a distance allows you to reposition and rotate around compounds and enemies with ease, so while your teammates engage, you become extremely proficient at denying cover and taking flanking shots. You can also cover hunter bodies at extreme range, so when enemies go to revive or loot, you are far more deadly. Provided you can control the distance to your target, you are relatively safe. Well, as safe as you can ever really be in Hunt Showdown. I mean, a good shot with a long rifle will still take you out at pretty much any range, but landing these shots from very far away is hard without a scope. But if you can't control the distance, that's when you're going to be in trouble. Which brings us to the weaknesses and limitations of sniping. The obvious one is that with such a high magnification scope, you are handicapped at close and medium range compared to iron-sighted weapons. In addition, the weapons we've been discussing tend to have slower rates of fire, so misses up close are very costly. This is why having a strong secondary weapon is so crucial. This disadvantage extends to rushing buildings. Pushing interiors is obviously a bad idea, which is why you carry explosives to do that job for you, or probe for wallbangs when players are hiding away. There is also a more subtle disadvantage to the sniper playstyle, which is that it can make it harder to support your teammates when they get into trouble. With proper planning and coordination, a sniper can be an extremely useful support weapon for your team, but if you can't cover them from the enemy and they go down, your life is about to become a lot harder. If they start to burn your teammate, it is harder to push up and tap them out in time without getting shot yourself when you are standing on the other side of a swamp taking potshots. So with these strengths and limitations in mind, what are some tips and tactics to help you make the most of sniper weapons in Hunt? My biggest piece of advice would be to keep moving. If you take a shot, be it a kill or not, the enemy now has and knows your position. Then you need to move. Rotating constantly is of extreme importance, as a coordinated team will be able to easily isolate you and push your position if you don't move. As a sniper, you need to control the range that you're fighting at. This means making tactical retreats as the enemy pushes towards you. When with your team, you can use them as distractions to cover you while you pull back, reload and reposition, only to strike again when they are focused on one of your partners. This extends to defending compounds. If you sit inside and peek windows of your compound, then you need to be sure that you can headshot enemies before they get close. If not, you probably need to be outside the compound while defending, so you can keep your mobility if needed. Getting hemmed in a boss compound is not a good situation with a scoped rifle. One tip that I find extremely useful is watching, or even allowing, revives as a sniper. It may seem like common sense. If your partner gets downed by a sniper, you don't go and revive them before neutralizing the threat. But you would be amazed how many people don't think like this, and they will either go for the instant revive, or wait a few seconds, see if you take another shot, and if you don't, then they will try to pull off the revive. You can use this to rack up free kills, or secure an easy victory by shooting an enemy mid-revive. Alternatively, consider this. Each time a player gets downed, they will have less health, often to the point that with a Sparks at least, you are going to be able to kill them again with just a body shot. Because of this, the enemy getting a revive off isn't that bad, so if you really need to reposition and can't cover a body, it's not the end of the world, because you can probably finish that player off again just with a chest tap if they choose to push close to you. My third tip is to be aware of your opponent's weapons. Often when sniping, I can become a bit complacent and assume that I have extra time to stand still and line up a shot because of the distance advantage that my scope gives me. If you notice that an enemy also has a sniper scope, it is now a game of even footing, and you need to keep on your toes because the moment of pause will cost you a bullet to the head. On the flip side, if your opponents have shotguns and only pistols for ranged combat, stay 90 meters away and you will be more or less immune to their damage. Take your time and line up your shots, because even uppercut headshots from your opponent will not be lethal at sniper ranges. Tip number 4 is even though snipers are best used from far away, you should really practice using them up close as well, preferably against grunts to begin with. Once you get the hang of quick scoping with a sniper rifle in CQC, then it becomes a much better weapon. Mastering this is essential for anyone that wants to be a really good sniper, as you can easily down wounded enemies, assist your teammates in pushes, and better defend yourself in an ambush. Finally, remember that teamwork trumps all other tactics for this playstyle. If your team is pushing a building and you can't cover them from outside, you probably need to go with them. An extra body with fanning can be very useful, And the last thing you want is two dead partners inside a compound being set on fire while you're just sitting in a bush somewhere outside praying that the enemy will peek windows with their 3 shotguns. You need to play with your team. Being a sniper does not mean you're a lone wolf unless you are queuing solo. Hopefully this guide helps you become a better sniper, and let us know what is your favourite long range rifle in the comments below. For me, it is definitely the old reliable Sparks LRR. You can also check out our Discord and Patreon linked in the description below, and please consider subscribing. Thank you so much for watching. This is Ascendance from 4FS Gaming.